Welcome to Miles of Books, a book-centric show to listen to on your run. From Another Mother Runner and Feisty Media, I'm host Sarah Bowen Shea, and I'm joined today by my fabulous co-host, Ellison Weist. We've got 4 novels on the docket today, or should I say on the dock, because, because 2 of them have very watery settings. So welcome, Ellison. Thanks for sticking around even when I make bad puns.
Yeah. It's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it.
Yes.
Well, with that theme, we can jump into Underwater, which is a debut novel from Tara Menon. And I really was impressed with this. It may be a stretch to say I enjoyed it because of the subject matter. It deals with not only the tsunami of 2004, but also, and just sort of skims the surface of Hurricane Sandy in New York City in 2009. And we meet a young girl named Marissa, and she is in New York City, 2009, sort of at a loss. She's really not, she's just sort of moving through the motions, let's say.
Or she's adrift, dare I say?
Gosh. All right. Okay, I'm leaving. But she and her father had moved to Thailand after her mother died, and her father is a biologist who ends up working with a group of biologists who are also underwater divers, swimmers. That's what they're studying. And she's young, probably about 7 or 8 when they move, and she meets this other little girl whose name is Ariel, and they become just best friends. They spend so much time with each other, during the week. Marissa actually stays in town because Ariel's parents own a very nice hotel in Thailand, and that's where they spend the week so that they can both go to school. But then on the weekends, Ariel joins Marissa and her father, and they go off to an island where the biological study is going on. And they become not only best friends, but they become incredible swimmers. And the book goes back and forth between Marielle, who has obviously suffered a great loss, but you don't know exactly what it is, except she keeps seeing Ariel at different points in her life in New York City. Meanwhile, in the background, Hurricane Sandy is gathering force. So in some ways, this was sort of like a fictional, I don't know if you remember the book Wave that came out several years after the tsunami.
Yes.
And it was written by a woman who lost her entire family. And it's a very just rich and poignant and, of course, horribly upsetting book. And this is not going to take you as deep into that, but it's the story of what happens to this friendship and what this kind of loss does to a young person in terms of guilt, in terms of not being able to fully look into the future, and in terms of a longing for the past. I thought it was beautiful.
It's a very slim book. I mean,
It is. Yeah, and I wouldn't say that it goes by quickly because, again, whenever there's rich writing, I at least find myself sort of slowing down. It's almost like your heartbeat goes down along with the pages as they sort of slowly skim by.
It is. Yes, I feel when the language is especially rich, I want to savor it. Whereas with a more plot-driven kind of oftentimes with a thriller, like I'm thinking about 5 from
from last time.
I couldn't read that book fast enough.
Yeah. So I would highly recommend this one, and I'm eager to see what she's going to do in the future.
Oh, good. All right. Well, we're going to break to talk briefly about the brands that support this show. Stay with us. Okay. Our second water-themed novel has a very similar title to the first book. Yes, it is Underlake, and in this case, it's all one word, by Erin L. McCoy. And I'm listening to the audio version of it, and I'm about halfway through it.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a very interesting concept. It talks about a New England town that has essentially been thrust underwater because they were building a dam. And I think you know of a case like this.
Yes, I had the reservoir right down the street from my parents' house
Yeah,
was a place called Danstown, and it got flooded to end. But I trust that they got out all the occupants of the inhabitants of Danstown before they flooded it. Not so with Underlake.
that's exactly right. That's exactly right. There are rumors that, well, it starts off the first line tells you that over 200 people drowned when
Uh-huh.
they decided to go ahead and flood this valley in this town. Not that they weren't given notice, it did not come as a surprise to them.
Hmm.
But that has always haunted a lot of the people around it, especially this young woman named Ota, short for Odalie.
Hmm.
And she lived in a one parent household with a mother and a younger brother who later on transitioned into a woman. And very close to her younger sibling, not so much with her mother, because there are people in the community that feel that her mother was responsible in a lot of ways for all these people drowning. But like you said, or did they?
Hmm.
Because what we find out when Odalie comes back from some heartbreak of her own, she's a professional diver, underwater diver, and she comes home after this tragedy. What we find out is that no, there's actually a town
Hmm.
underneath the lake, hence Underlake.
Hmm.
And the reason she is persuaded to believe this is because a young woman comes to her door and says, "My daughter has escaped from this town
Hmm.
and I need to find her in the lake."
Hmm.
So it's a very, on the surface, it appears to be a very straightforward plot. Oda is going to help this woman, May, find her daughter, Daphne,
Hmm.
and, all will be well. But like you and I both noticed, the description of the town, at first I was like, okay, I can get on board with this. I can kind of understand that. But there's actually one community and
Hmm.
then there's another community.
Right, right. And that so like I said, I was listening to it. So maybe it would have become more clear to me. Like I want to say at the outset, I found the plot relatively compelling. I
Right.
but I found the descriptions of the settings, especially the Underlake itself, kind of confusing.
Yeah.
And maybe I would have understood it better if I was reading it.
I'm shaking my head
You're
for
shaking
those who
your
are
head.
listening. No,
Yes.
I mean, I consider myself, I'm not by any means an underwater expert. And I don't really think I have I think you need to have some sort of architectural rendering either in your mind or on paper. That would have helped me because some of the
It would have.
descriptions I couldn't.
Yes, and because there's the chimneys, and then there's, it seems like there's a tube that goes down to an underworld. Maybe isn't the exact right word, but in a way it is, particularly because this Underlake community is very religious, and
Right.
that May has been an outcast because her mother kind of showed up at the watery door to give birth to her, wouldn't tell who May's father was. Then May herself ends up becoming a single mother to Daphne. She is not with the man who helped create the child. And so and that May is kind of an outcast for that reason by this religious
Right.
community. And so it was all just a bit of a swirly underwater tangle to me in terms of trying to visualize what this community was like. I mean, I kind of understood how it is that they survived down there. It's not like they
Right.
grew gills. And yes. So and in reviews and write-ups, comparisons are drawn to novels by the great Margaret Atwood of The Handmaid's Tale fame, and Emily St. John Mandel, best known for Station 11, which is a
Hmm.
huge favorite of both of ours.
Right.
And I can see why the comparisons were made, but I don't think they're justified. I mean, Atwood and Mandel set the literary bar extremely high.
Yes. Yeah. And I've noticed that their names have been bandied around with several dystopian especially new writers. And
Mhm.
I don't think that does justice on either end.
Mm,
because I think it forces a new writer to, in some ways, possibly defend her writing when people
mm,
like us read it and say, wait a minute, no.
mhm,
mm, That's the only thing that you have in common here is an ability to really craft a plot.
uh-huh,
And so that bothers me a little bit. But this, as it went on, and you get even past the chimneys community into other
mhm,
people,
mhm.
I was just like, okay, I'm just going to go along for the ride because I could not keep track of where they were, what exactly was happening.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
You know,
Yeah, yeah, interesting. Also, it
yeah,
is a shame now that I think about it a little bit more. Here it is, this female writer. She's compared to these other female writers because they're in the dystopian genre. Would a male writer,
good
a
point.
newer male writer, get compared to Isaac Asimov or I don't know, Stephen King or something like that? So so bad on me.
Yeah,
Um,
no, that you may have a good point there. Yeah, yeah,
All right. Okay. So moving on to dry land, we have Children of the Wild, a
right.
historical love story by Kevin Powers.
Yes. A lot of our listeners and watchers will know Kevin Powers because of his debut, Yellow Birds, which was very highly acclaimed. And Powers is known for being able to take war,
Mm,
conflict, and present it to his readers in a way that is compelling, but is also extremely eye opening. He does not pull back from stuff. And in this
mm,
case, he takes us to Virginia in 1917. So we're right at the cusp before the United States gets into World War I. And there is a community there that is sort of centered around the Young family. And we have Roy Young, who's the 17-year-old only son of his third generation of a very wealthy, well to do farming family. And his dearest friend, Samantha Hatton, who is the local minister's daughter, who he's known since she was born.
mm,
And it's there's always sort of been an understanding in the community that the two of them would end up together. But right from the get go, you were introduced to this feral young man. That's the only word for him, named Ennis Duke. And Ennis is an enigma. He just essentially really does sort of show up in this very odd circumstance. And once he comes into the picture, things begin to change. So it's a lot. I don't mean to make it sound exactly like Legends of the Fall, the great sort of triangular love story from, gosh, probably a couple of decades ago now.
I know, right? I think we're dating
Dear,
ourselves there.
I think we
Yes,
are.
but hey, Brad Pitt's in it, so and he's
Brad
still a
Pitt's in it. Yeah,
vital,
yeah, yeah.
vital member of society.
Anthony Hopkins plays the father. So, but it is a love story in a way, but not in the way you would expect, because it's not giving away anything to say that Ennis and Roy, who start off seeing each other as really combatants for this young woman, Samantha or Sam, but they end up going off to war together. And Powers does an exquisite job of explaining what it's like to be in the type of conditions, horrifying conditions that were the later years, a year and a half of World War One. But he also shows you how people in those conditions can become just so embedded with each other.
Mm,
And as the novel goes on, we see what happens to all three of the main characters. And this is where I felt that Powers lost his grip a bit,
mm,
because I think he was trying so hard, so desperately hard, to show not only the love between Ennis and Roy and Samantha, but that he really wanted to pinpoint the fact that Ennis felt himself divided between Roy and Samantha, not in uh, it was a very platonic love, but
mhm,
with him and Roy. But I sort of wish he had chosen a lane. And
mm,
I almost hate saying that, but in the second half to third of the book, I felt like he just let things run away and
mm.
couldn't really pinpoint a direction.
Mm.
I have a feeling also this has screenplay written all over it.
Oh.
And whenever I see that, there are times where I have a bit of a gut reaction where I pull back a little, and that may be unfair to Powers,
Mm.
but that's what I ended up with.
Mm. Mm.
I do think that for Father's Day, if you have a husband, father, brother, son who enjoys these sort of Western epics with a tinge of romance, I think this would be a good choice.
Okay, for our friend Dave Sullivan, who
That's
often
right.
looks for book suggestions from us. So I'll admit I didn't read this one, but I dug around a bit on the internet and found that Powers was also compared to Margaret Atwood. Like she's just held up as the shining star,
Good
which
grief.
is well earned.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
And I believe the reviewer was referring to her 2000 Booker Prize winning novel, The Blind Assassin, which also captures both the devastating impacts of war on the human spirit and the enduring power of love. So, how do you feel Power's writing skills compare to those of
I
Margaret
mean,
Atwood?
I almost feel like should put a mask over my face when I'm answering that because Margaret Atwood is, I mean, I feel like she's legions above everyone. Blind Assassin to me was a little bit more compelling. I mean, don't ask me how long it's been since I read the book, but
Right. It
I
came out
have it on my
26 years ago.
shelf.
You are
Okay.
forgiven.
Oh boy. Yeah. I really feel like in that book, she kept a hand on the tiller a little better than
Mm,
Powers does.
mm,
Yeah. I would have to kind of go back and dig into that, but that's my kind of first reaction
mhm,
to that
mhm. Interesting. Interesting.
question. Yeah.
Okay, it's time for another brief break. We've got one more novel to talk about. So, Ellison, our fourth novel is one that I believe we texted about this, but I believe that you didn't immediately warm to, and there it is. So, while it pulled me in from the start, it's the
Yeah.
latest from Andrew Sean Greer, the Pulitzer-prize-winning author of Less, and its sequel, Less is Lost. I'm only partway through it, but as I said, I was immediately beguiled by it.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm thinking then that you should give the synopsis.
But I'm only partway through it.
I know. It it's about a young man who sort of aimless again. We have these aimless main characters and he's out of college, really doesn't know what to do and ends up taking a job sort of sight unseen for this baroness in Italy who
Mhm.
essentially wants him to come in and archive all her extremely interesting and, magical items that she has, including a Picasso. Of
Right,
course,
right.
he has.
Hold on,
Yeah.
I should also say I forgot to say the name of this book. It is
Oh
called
gosh,
Villa
that's right.
Coco.
Yeah.
And when you said the Baroness, I'm like, wait, that is her. The Baroness's nickname is Coco.
Right, right. She
Yeah,
wants to be
yeah. So
called Coco. Coco.
yes.
And
So go
he,
on.
of
Okay.
course,
Yeah.
he has no background, but he sort of thinks, oh, I've looked at a couple of Italian phrases. I can sort of walk myself through this. And he gets there and immediately meets the sort of imperious 92-year-old Coco who has two pugs and expects him to, do everything. And he's immediately thrown in with all these other characters, most of whom are a little oddball
Yes.
and especially the people that work for Coco. And he still can't seem to get her to tell him exactly what he's supposed to do and when he's supposed to do it because she's always sending him off on these other errands. So
Mhm.
now you go ahead and tell me why you are entranced, and then I'll reply.
Yes. Um. So all right. So from reading Greer's Less books, which I just loved so much.
So did I. Hmm.
Yes. So from those books, I already knew that I adore Greer's subtle wit and how he often has a highly self effacing protagonist. And I'm a sucker for Deer Man, Dear, not one who hunts.
And wears antlers.
Yes. So, like this main character, I find very dear immediately. And also, I found Arthur Less, the protagonist of those two Less books. I also found it's so clever how, in the first few pages, the narrator reveals that the main character is himself in his younger, immediately post collegiate, more innocent years. I don't know. He did it super early. Like, I mean, I think page 2 or 3,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
and it was very endearing. And again, I just love a dear man. So so to that end, I want to read the first paragraph actually because I just think Greer's use of language is so clever and turns of phrases. So here we go. The little Tuscan train station, brown shutters against yellow paint, seems so fanciful you might unwrap it and find it was chocolate. The departures and arrivals sign had half its bulbs burnt out, so all our young man could discern was a cuneiform description of the current train strike. And while he looked for and could not find a living person, he did find a statue labeled Sandrogo. The saint wore a floppy hat and seemed overburdened with a quasir, a scythe, and a sleeping lamb, as if he were carrying the shopping for another more important saint. Our young man himself was overburdened with books, luggage, gin, fish oil, and doubt. He had followed the telegram's nonsensical instructions all the way from the eastern seaboard to Florence, whose domes and spires he glimpsed only briefly before boarding a tin can train into the Tuscan hills, and now stood in the hot wind of a late September day. For a long time, it was only himself, Sandrogo, and an olive tree whose roots were breaking through its planter. Through his later travels on sea and shore, he would become accustomed to the sensation of foreign air. This first arrival in Italy would be minted forever in his memory. I just think that paragraph tells so much.
See, for me, that first line with it just made it seem, he's going the precious route and he's going at full blast. I was not interested in the dear man. I found that Coco, I thought was, we've seen her before. She's sort of the quirky older woman that has all these pithy things to say and is annoying but endearing. I felt like he threw in all this cast of characters like he was sitting there saying, okay, now I need a guy who's really quirky and odd, a real oddball. And I need a woman who, can sort of keep things calm, but is also in on the fun. I don't know. I stuck with it and I'm very proud of myself because you know that if I'm not intrigued, I have no problems with a DNF, do not finish. But I just felt like it was like he was pulling things out of his hat that worked in previous books, that worked in less, but did not work here. I thought he tried too hard.
Interesting. I can definitely see I think you're incredibly valid in your like, okay, we need a man who's quirky, who wears a bizarre scarf around his neck or something like that. And but I was just here for it. Like I just found it so winsome with a splash of whimsy and I don't know, I'm not much of a summer book person, but maybe this is my idea of a summer book. His grasp of language is just so exquisite to me. And one of the words I had to look up, it was cartaceous, and it's an adjective that means resembling paper or having a papery texture, and it was to
Mm-hmm.
describe Coco's skin because I think Coco's like what's she like
92.
92? 92,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I just found it beguiling and enchanting and escapist and
Yeah. Well, we'll let the readers decide. I mean,
yes, yeah.
I've seen some review that did not care for it, and then I've seen another that praised it. And
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, I love a lot of his early stuff. Story of a Marriage and the Confessions of Max Tivoli, two
Mm,
of his much earlier books. I love those books, but this one didn't do it for me.
yeah. Yeah. He does have a pretty deep catalog
Backlist,
of
yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
and before we go, we need to talk about the covers because they
That's right.
I say, how about I'll hold up the two watery ones for our few loyal YouTube watchers and you hold up the other two.
Yeah. You
So and
see the
there's just
theme?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just a beautiful greenish aqua turquoise just all through I don't know, I just find them very beautiful covers and you had a theory about kind of a
I think
trend.
I think green is a year in publishing. I don't know what it is, but I've been noticing a lot of covers, especially with some of the big books coming out. I've noticed a lot of green. So there you have it.
prosperity,
Yes,
hope,
that's right.
rebirth,
Rebirth, yeah.
in addition to water.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So we are skipping the next, I should mention this. We're not 2 weeks from today. You and I will not be here talking about fiction.
No.
It'll be another month before we're back to talk about fiction because there's an extra special episode. Not that all these aren't very special, Ellison.
Thank you.
Coming in 2 weeks. So, hey, folks, be on the listen for that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm in the know, but I'm not telling.
Right, right. It gives us a chance to get caught up.
Yeah,
it's a full-time job reading.
Oh, it is. It is. It is. I don't mind it. I'm not complaining, but every once in a while, I'd like to read a bit of nonfiction.
Oh, look at you. Oh no, I'm just going to try to get up ahead so that I can.
Oh, yeah. What she said. Yeah. Okay.
All right, folks. Well, thanks for listening. Please tell your book-loving friends about this podcast. Miles of Books is a production of Another Mother Runner and Feisty Media. For more on Feisty and our other shows, events, workshops, and Feisty Fest happening this September in Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, I'll be there, will you? Visit feisty.co. That's feisty.co. See ya.
See ya.